All right, we've got our number 1, 2, and 4 injection lines off of the pump. They fall out in one pack. Now this is something we do here at Thoroughbred when we pull a pump. We don't pull the other 3 injection lines. It's not necessary to. If you feel more comfortable with it, you can, but it's a lot more steps to the process. What we do is we leave the number 3, 5, and 6 line on the truck at the head. We don't lose them. And we just touch them. And the light's not going to stay on for us. If you just move them aside, that'll let the pump clear them when you go to pushing it out. We've already got the bolt off the back of the pump that bolts it to the engine block. You have 4 bolts holding it to the gear cover here. The bolts on the bottom can actually be a little bit harder to get to. These 2 top ones are easy, very easy. The 2 bottom ones are a little bit more difficult to get to. 3/8 drive extensions and a deep well 15 socket, and just play around with the different extensions, and eventually you'll get it. You'll have the length on it you need. The two 3/8 and 1 deep well socket, 2 3/8 at about a 2-inch extension will usually get it for you. Now we're ready to put our puller on. We use a steering wheel puller just like this. Show you how these goes. If I can get the light stood up. You've got 2 metric 8 by 1.25 bolts. Let's see. I'll get these started and I'll show you. Let's see. All right, let's just give you a look at what you're up against. Here's the puller installed on the gear, threaded in on either side. We'll try to thread these 2 bolts in as much as we can. Then this will actually push the pump right out the back, and we'll get it lodged out. Once you get the pump out, you want to make sure not to touch the shaft of it, not to mess up the orientation of where your keyway is, and we'll show you about that later. All right, one of the biggest install mistakes that we have, one of the biggest technical questions that we have, a lot of the pump failures that we have, is when customers buy the pump, they miss the keyway going back with it. They don't realize that the pumps are key timed. It's very common. It happens all the time. It's compounded by the fact that the pumps have a tapered shaft. So if you miss the keyway, the pump's still going to go in the gear, no problem. It's just going to smash the key. So with that being said, we've got our old pump off of our truck. What we do is we lay them side by side on a bench, never moving the shaft on the old pump. This helps us to line up the keyways to get ready to go back. What we'll do, our keyways are painted yellow to ease you with installation so you can see it a little bit better. What we do, we just lay them right on the bench. We'll turn them to where they look like it's just about the same place as the old one is, and then we go back on the truck. Now doing this doesn't excuse you from using an inspection mirror when you go back with the pump. When we go back, we still have another person that stands outside of the gear with an inspection mirror and a light, and that way they can visually verify that you hit the keyway in the gear. We've got everything now tightened up on the pump. The 4 bolts on the back of it are tight. The mounting bracket to the engine is tight. We've put our front nut and lock washer on, tightened it up to 125 foot-pounds. What we do here at this time, before we put the front cover back on the truck, we actually pull the front nut and lock washer back off the pump and visually inspect one more time that we've hit our keyway correctly. Check it with a light.
It's kind of hard to see here, but We always make sure we use the inspection mirror to verify 100% that the keyway is in before we go any further.
All right, we've got our pump in. We have verified that we've hit the keyway in the gear. What we're going to do now is we're going to place our 4 nuts on the back of the pump, holding it to the timing gear cover. The 2 bolts in the mounting bracket on the engine, we'll put those in now while the pump's loose. Like this, it'll help us with alignment on those. And then we're going to put our front nut and lock washer on the pump. The nut and lock washer, the lock washer can be dropped down in the gear casing. We want to take extra care when we put this on, make sure not to drop it. Torque specs, it'll be a little bit hard for you to get torques on the back 4, but they're at 32 foot-pounds, but the front nut and lock washer are 125 foot-pounds. Get everything mounted up, and then we'll go back with our plumbing. All right, we're back. We've got our 4 bolts on the back of the pump tightened down. We've got our front nut and lock washer on the pump. We're just going back with finishing up the installation. What we'll do is we'll connect all of our fuel lines on. We'll put our pressure side and return side lines on. Put our cover on the oil, and just go back with everything. Your intake horn and the whole shoot match. It's making sure that you get your wiring harnesses hooked up. It's just it's cut and dry from here. Once we get everything battened back down, we'll teach you guys how to proper way to bleed the pump. Okay, we've got everything installed back on our truck for our VP44 install. I'm kind of going to give you a rundown of everything that we've done here. We've got our pump secured to the timing gear cover on the truck. All the lines reattached, the return side and pressure side. We have our throttle position sensor and its electrical hookup on the bottom of it hooked up, and on the truck, all the fuel lines on and tightened. When you go back with your lines, before you put your air horn on, you want to make sure you tighten the number 2 injection line. It's back here. You can't get to it with the air horn on the truck when you're going through your bleeding procedure, so make sure you tighten it. We like to leave number 1, number 3, and number 4 loose when we're bleeding, but tighten them at the pump. Put your air horn on, get all your bolts in, make sure all your gaskets underneath your grid heater are there. The first thing we do in our bleeding procedure is what we'll do is we're going to fill the pump. Not everybody does this, but we do it here. We loosen the 3/4 inch overflow valve, the return bolt, and we will just bump the starter on the truck so the lift pump runs, and that'll let us fill the pump. Okay, we're getting ready to go through our bleeding procedures that we do here. First, we're going to loosen up the return valve on the VP44 pump, the 3/4 overflow valve. We've got it loosed. We're going to bump the truck and let the lift pump run, and that's going to fill our injection pump. All right. All right, we've got the fuel there. We're going to tighten it down. And we're getting ready for a core return. Here at Thoroughbred, we'll either send you your core return tag, will come in the box with your pump, or we'll send you a tag through the mail, just depending on where we send the pump from. You'll get a new plastic bag to put your pump core in. One of the first things you need to do when you're getting your core ready is you need to drain involved fuels. We drain that, and you'll receive black plastic caps that'll go over your supply side and here at the supply and return side on the side of the pump. We put those black plastic caps back in them after we've drained all the fuel out of it. You'll receive a heavy-duty plastic bag, put your pump core in it, wrap it up good so it doesn't have any fuel leaking out of it. One of the biggest things that we ask for you to do is to return your overflow valve with your pump. We need to get those back. Each pump that we send out is actually test stained with the overflow bolt that comes with the pump.